Porch Fest Quincy is back for 2022. It is back live. It is back in June, and that means Ian Kane and Walter Hubley are back to tell us all about it. Hey, guys.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Good to see you both.
Good to see you too.
Look at the three of us in one room.
I know.
No masks.
Yeah. Close proximity, no social distancing.
Yeah,
All right.
it's great.
Yeah.
Like I said, Porch Fest is back. What happened in 2021, Walter?
2021, we at the beginning of the year, we took a look at the conditions with COVID and so forth and thought, better to kick it out a little bit, kick it out a few months just to, give us some time on the determination by the state and the city for, public gatherings and things like that. It worked out pretty well. We moved it out to September.
Yeah.
A little bit chillier,
Yeah.
a little bit darker, a little earlier in the day, but aside from that, we had a really great program. I want to say we were pretty much on parallel with previous years, maybe a little fewer bands. Not a lot of bands were practicing together during COVID, so a little bit lower of a turnout from that, but I think everyone still had a great time. It was a really good program.
By then, they were clamoring for something.
Yeah, people wanted to get out and get together as we naturally like to do, and I think the Porch Fest came just in time, or maybe not soon enough for a lot of people.
Right, yeah. Did it happen in 2020?
No, it didn't happen.
It did not happen in 2020.
I was going to say people and the artists, right? The artists lost out considerably
big
during
time.
COVID.
Yeah.
The venues closed down, people weren't out. So I think it was a great opportunity to get them back in gear. And then people, of course, wanted to get out of their houses, right?
Correct. Yeah. I've been saying it all along. Certainly the pandemic had a tremendous impact on people in the hospitality industry, the retail industry, the travel industry, but also the arts.
Oh, yeah.
And culture and music. The BSO couldn't perform, the Boston Pops couldn't perform, Broadway was shut down. So and that's how they make their living. Right. And all the cottage industries that live off of the arts also were affected. So it's great to have them back. For folks who don't know, I always like to start out with a little history lesson. Ian, maybe you can tell us, what is Porch Fest?
Yeah, so Porch Fest, we didn't reinvent the wheel here. This was an event that I attended first in Somerville. And so I had just moved back to Quincy 2013. In 14, I went to the event in Somerville. In 15, started running for office and got together with Walter. And Walter, who obviously has been a long time community activist and involved in heading the Wollaston Hill Neighborhood Association. We were looking for new ways to engage. And I think one of the things that came to mind was, how do we get people interacting? Everyone's on their phones and sort of on front of their computers all the time. So how can we get people out of their houses and interacting in each other's lives? And I said, why don't we try this? Let's do this Porch Fest thing. And so I think we were ambitiously shooting for 15, and then we said, why don't we try 16? And then in 16, we said, why don't we try to get 10 locations and maybe 20 performers, somewhere in between the Wollaston Hill and Montclair neighborhoods. And then I think we ended up with about 80 or so the first year,
yeah,
right?
Somewhere just shy of 80.
Yeah,
Right?
And at like 50, 60 locations. So the thing was a hit from the get-go, which was awesome. And it was new energy. Definitely young people love this. I think for the years we've done it, I was joking earlier in my head, I'm like, this is the 64th annual Porch Fest, and can you imagine, right? Like someday celebrating that. But this is a day that people look forward to now. It's a great Quincy day. Yeah. People who either participate hosting performers do cookouts, and other people who don't have performers do cookouts around this day. And so there's a lot of foot traffic, and it does exactly what we sought to do, which was bring community together around music.
Yeah.
And so I guess to answer your question, it's kind of like a outdoor music festival meets block party.
Yeah. It's a great way to describe it, actually. Yeah. It's amazing how much music has taken the center stage here in the city of Quincy. This year, particularly with the performances on the Hancock Adams Common in Quincy Center just about every weekend, all year long, pretty much. So really, the city is embracing music more than I've ever seen it. I've worked in the city since 1986.
Yeah.
So I can say with a pretty good history that it's different.
Oh, it's been a great venue down in the Common area there, and different genres of music, right? I think there was jazz, there was country.
Yes.
And what are we heading towards next?
There'll be classical music.
Okay.
I think,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so there's something for everybody.
Right. So it's June 25th 3 to 9 p.m. It's a Saturday. How does it all work? Yes, thank you very much for the visual
You're
effects.
very welcome. Yeah, got it right here.
We'll show that electronically too.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
But there are
Nothing beats
posters.
IRL. Okay?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's our high-tech approach
Yeah.
towards getting graphics.
But there are posters littered around the city
Yep.
as well.
Yep,
But
and I'm going to litter some more later.
Okay, good. But how does it all work?
All right, so I guess on June 25th, Saturday at 3 o'clock, we have a schedule that will be on the website, available in print as well, that people will be passing out.
Okay.
You show up to one or more of the 3 neighborhoods. You look at the schedule, it'll have a map, and you kind of walk the neighborhood or bike the neighborhood, however you choose to do it, and just enjoy performances. The idea is we try to pick a couple of neighborhoods to have a couple of performances, all kind of in proximity to each other, but not too close, so
Yeah.
they overlap.
Yeah.
And then people get together, and you get to spend 10 minutes at one porch and spend another 10 minutes down the street, stop in at a friend's cookout, and just enjoy the day.
Sure. It's the first Saturday of summer, which is a
Yep.
nice way to kick
Officially.
off the summer
Yeah.
season. Marymount, Wollaston Hill, and Squantum, pretty much where it has been from the get-go, right? It really hasn't changed.
Yeah, that's what we saw a lot of. Ian and I, when we first started it, figured let's do this in Wollaston Hill, where we both kind of grew up and lived. And after we started to hear a lot of interest from other neighborhoods, primarily from Squantum, and then from Marymount, and so it seemed like a natural way to kind of grow the event. We really followed where we saw the most organic interest from the community.
Yeah.
And there is interest in other parts of the community, and it's very it's difficult sometimes because we want to keep the continuity to make sure that the acts are getting their fair share of an audience, right?
Yep,
And
yep.
so kind of keeping it concentrated within those neighborhoods makes sense. And so sometimes it's unfortunate when you have people that want to participate in outlying areas of the city. We just can't guarantee that continuity for acts, and it sort of it just doesn't work for the program.
Yeah, I understand that. But it also, we talked about this before, it encourages people to explore the parts of Quincy that they may not
Absolutely,
be familiar
that
with
too. Yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah.
Folks from West Quincy may know nothing about Squantum.
Yeah.
Or vice versa,
Right.
or
Right.
what constitutes Marymount. People may not
Yeah.
familiar what that means.
Yeah, they're very unique neighborhoods,
Right.
each of them.
Yeah,
Exactly.
they're good examples of the characters of the different neighborhoods that we
it's true.
have,
Yeah.
and all of them are accessible from public transportation.
is
So,
nice, yeah.
we've been pretty mindful about how we expanded it and why and where.
Yeah, it's important to point out that streets aren't shut down for
Nope.
for this.
No.
The city functions as a normal Saturday. It's
Yeah.
just kind of an addition to.
There's always there's always a good police presence around.
Sure.
The police has been a great partner. And obviously
Absolutely.
The mayor's been a great partner. The police have been a great partner in making sure that people are passing safely through different areas.
Yeah, the thing that amazes me too is from the get-go, this really has been an electronic outreach, if you will. You haven't taken out ads in the newspaper or I mean, really, you've used social media for a lot of this, right, to put this together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we started with pretty much no budget.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah, that too.
That was that was one of the driving forces behind our decision.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
necessity is the mother of invention.
But,
Yeah.
but from there, we really generate almost all the funding for the event by selling T-shirts, which is a good segue, I guess. So, of course, all ABC always be closing. So always, these T-shirts are available.
The
You go-
walking billboard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Available through the website, and
Okay.
anytime you buy one of these, after cost, all the money goes into paying for the website, print advertising, other costs associated, like porta potties, with supporting the event. So
Right.
that's how we've really funded it. We did get a few grants early on to help with some of the initial printing that we did in year 2.
Okay. PorchFestQuincy.org, the same website that has always been, and as I mentioned, all over social media, right, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I did also want to mention,
Yeah.
so Ian and I come on the show and we have a great time talking about the event, but there are a couple of organizers behind
Yeah.
the scenes that are putting in just really a ton of hours and a ton of work.
Yeah, do tell. This
So
is-
Stacy LeMay in Squantum
Okay.
does an amazing job, has been with us from day one of the event's inception. We've got Bill Lebo in Marymount, who does a great job. He's been doing it for the past couple of years, and he's also involved in the Marymount Association. They do great stuff down there. and they're also great partners with Wollaston Hill Association as well. And then Kathy Hubley, my wife, she takes care of Wollaston Hill area. And what they do is they spend a ton of time coordinating with the bands, creating the schedule of who's going to be where, making sure everyone's talking about coordinating and setting up their, how they're going to set things up and tear it down. And,
Yep.
and they are really the focal point people of each neighborhood. And then Ian and I provide sort of support from an overall perspective with the event. So
Okay.
yeah, I definitely appreciate all the work and they've put in over the past couple of years. Wanted to make sure I mentioned that.
Absolutely, yeah. How many bands signed up so far?
So I did a little quick look. We have just about 75 bands
Okay.
registered so far. Registrations are going to be open for next couple of weeks.
Okay.
And let's see. So right now we've got somewhere in the area of 20 some odd bands in each neighborhood. We've got a couple of returning bands and a number of new bands. Some of the returning bands, the Peasants, are going to be back up in Squantum on Bellevue. We've got Up the Downs as well
Downs,
coming
yeah.
back.
They're great.
That's fan favorite, yeah.
Yep, Tokyo Tramps will be returning to Wollaston Hill like they were last year. The Sprints will be back. You might remember we had the Sprints on with me and you. Yeah,
The
they came
kids,
on.
yeah, they were fun,
yeah, they did great. They're coming back.
Nice.
WSU, which is a bluegrass band, which stands for whoever shows up. I may show up in one of their sets. I had them on as well. We got the Rudder Kings on Wollaston Hill. This is Councillor Coughlin and some of his friends.
Okay.
Oh, they're
band,
pretty good.
Former
Yeah,
Councillor,
they're pretty
former
good.
Councillor Coughlin. Yeah, the whole bunch of, All Time High is another band that's coming back. They performed last year under a different name. And these are actually some folks that I grew up with and I used to jam with in
Really?
garage bands. So yeah, Dave Gibbons, Tom Scheidler, Scott O'Connell. Yeah, just a great group of folks, and Danny Batts, who got back together again after being in bands when we were teenagers
Wow.
and decided to do a band for
We
Porch
get the
Fest.
band back
Literally.
together.
Literally getting the
Literally.
band back
Yeah.
together. So yeah, that's kind of funny. And the Atlantic Youth Orchestra will also
Oh,
be
sure.
joining WSU on George Burke's porch.
Oh,
on,
okay.
Wollaston Hill.
Great
So
location.
Rest of the schedule is we're working it out, and the team's working diligently to put it together. So schedule gets published about a week before the event.
Okay.
It'll be on the website, and we'll get it printed and handed out the day of the
Okay.
event.
And all different kinds of music, it sounds like?
Oh yeah, a wide range.
Everything
yeah.
from what to what?
Oh goodness, jazz fusion to classic rock to
Bluegrass.
Yeah, bluegrass to some we can't necessarily apply a genre to. It's hard to tell.
Yep.
Okay.
We had punk. We had some punk before. Actually, they were really good.
Yeah, I
Old
want to say we've
school.
got a new one that applied this year.
Yeah.
New punk band. Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of good stuff and orchestra. So
Yep.
yeah, we're all, and an a cappella band.
Really?
Yeah, I actually wrote down their name. The Copley Cats.
The Copley Cats.
Yeah.
From Copley
So-
Square, perhaps? Or-
Yeah, possibly.
How
so
do bands find out about Porch Fest? How does-
It's really just word of mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, the music community is a fairly tight-knit
Yep.
community. All of the different musicians have either been in bands together over the years, or they know each other, or they perform together. It's a good network group. So I think they kind of pass along the word. The team at Porch Fest, we work very hard at working social media to make sure that we're posting it in different groups and forums
Yep.
to get the word out there. So it's a combination.
Yeah. And you want the bands to have a good experience, right? You want them to be able
Yeah.
to have a good reputation about Porch Fest, so they can tell their friends.
Yeah, and exactly, and that's kind of what Ian was alluded to
Yeah,
earlier,
yeah.
which I'll expand upon slightly. Is these bands and performers are giving generously of their time and talents.
Right.
This is a complete volunteer thing that they're doing, so it's important to us that each of the bands has a good audience in front of them. So keeping it into a few contained areas helps build that critical mass of audience for the time that they're investing.
They could be working a paid gig, right?
That too. That
Yeah.
too.
Ideally, I think that's for them.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And hopefully this leads to a pay gig.
Well,
pay
exactly,
gig.
yeah.
It has for a number of artists that
Has
I
it
spoke
really?
to. Oh, yeah. yeah.
Okay. So it could be a good entry point for an upcoming band, like the Sprints, perhaps.
And it's also an opportunity for those emerging bands. It's an opportunity to perform in front of people. Which every time you do that, you build upon
Absolutely.
the skill that you're developing.
It's like
And
public speaking. The more you do it, the easier it gets, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You do it and nothing goes wrong, and then you do it again, and you realize it's
Yeah.
and especially music, it's something that a lot of people learn on their own. So it's initially a fairly intimate thing that you're doing, and then you're trying to practice with other people and perform with other people, and there's a lot of timing involved. So coming together as a band it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
And this is just another opportunity to play in front of people and make that happen for new and upcoming bands.
Yeah. For the porches, the hosts of the performances, what is their responsibilities? What do they have to do that day?
Yeah, so they provide the porch, they provide electricity, an extension cord if there's no outlet on the
Yep.
porch. Oftentimes they'll host a cookout, but they're not required to. But a lot of porches will say, "Yeah, I'm going to be serving some food. You're welcome to stay and hang out and so forth." So I think they've the porch hosts, I believe, have gotten a lot out of it, both from getting to know the bands and spending time with them, as well as an opportunity for neighbors they might not otherwise have a reason or an opportunity to spend time with.
Yeah, maybe you just wave in passing. You don't really know
Yeah.
your neighbors that well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a new neighbor on the hill, Wollaston Hill, that told us, they said, we're fairly new here. We moved in about a couple of years ago, but we never met as many neighbors as we did on the day of Porch
See
Fest
that?
in
Yeah.
the 2 years prior.
Yeah.
And they recycled
Mission
it again.
accomplished.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
Yeah.
did you anticipate that, Ian, when you first came up with the concept?
I mean, it was a goal,
Yeah.
and glad that it happened,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's what we saw. That was one of the key sort of tenets of this, is getting people involved in their actual lives as opposed to just either waving past or, some people, similar sort of anecdotally
Yeah, yeah.
speaking, neighbors saying, I haven't seen you in a decade, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Or caught up with them. So
Yeah.
it's definitely, it's great to see that actually happens and works.
I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure. And for young people too, to be able to build a relationship as, a student and maybe carry that into adulthood too,
Yeah.
through their neighbors, yeah, so it's nice to see. This is an all-volunteer, as you mentioned, organization. Do you need more volunteers? What do you need?
We definitely need more bands and performances. So
okay.
if you're just learning about Porch Fest through this video, I would say go to porchfestquincy.org. Go through the registration process. It's one web page. Just fill it out, and we'll be in touch with you.
Okay.
It's a great opportunity to get involved, meet your neighbors, meet new friends, and be part of something that we're building here. We also could use some help with selling T-shirts. If someone has a store where they would like to offer the T-shirt available, that helps us get them out there and get them sold and get them out of my dining room.
Kathy will be happy about that, I'm sure.
Yeah. and on the day of, it's always helpful to have people who are willing to sell T-shirts and hand out maps to people who are walking through the neighborhood.
Okay.
So if you're interested in doing that, just hit us up on the website as well.
Okay. I have to ask, I guess, in this day and age, any COVID protocols or concerns or suggestions?
Yeah, I would say follow any guide. This is an outdoor event.
Yes.
So relative to that, follow any guidance that state and local officials have provided.
Okay.
But there's no alterations that we're making to our events based upon any current COVID
Okay.
protocols.
Yeah, every organization, every event is different, so I thought I'd have to ask.
Yeah, yeah.
Outdoor event, it's non-ticketed,
Right.
so
Yep.
we can't control people, but do what's right. If you don't feel well, stay home.
Yeah.
Goes with anything, right?
Do what you used to do.
Yeah, right. Listen to your mom;
Yeah,
she was right.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, I mean, similarly, the same thing when it comes to beer and alcohol. It's the same rules apply on Porch Fest. Leash law, same thing.
Yes.
Same rules apply.
Yep.
Keep your dogs on a leash.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there going to be food, beer and wine?
So neighborhoods are, the neighborhood coordinators, Kathy, Bill, and Stacy, are coordinating those directly with different vendors.
Oh.
I believe we're going to have a pizza wagon, I think it's what they call it.
Okay.
Aroma Pizza. I think they're going to be in Squantum. I believe we're going to have 1 or 2 food trucks in Marymount, and we might have one in Wollaston Hill as well.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
All right. So you really can make a day out of this for sure. Just
Yeah.
travel the city, enjoy music, and some refreshments.
People do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to ask, but I have to. Weather dependent. What happens if it rains?
We've had bouts of rain in
Yes.
the past. Our musicians perform on porches, which are often covered.
Knocking on all kinds of wood here.
Which are often covered,
Yeah.
so that isn't so much of a problem. I'd say if the forecast looks like rain, bring an umbrella
Yeah.
and dress accordingly.
Okay.
Throw on the poncho and think of the days of Woodstock.
All right.
Yeah, if you read
Without the mud.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you read our FAQ, the answer to the rain date is we're from New England, so we're gonna
Grin and bear it.
we're
Rain
gonna
or-
forge on. And
Rain or shine.
Rain or
Yeah,
shine.
I mean,
Okay.
it did rain a couple times, and a few times it was for 20 minutes. Another time it was
Yeah.
for about an hour, but people
Yeah.
gutted it out because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And
All
for
right.
those locations that don't have porches, we try to provide some those easy up tents.
Yep.
And it's really up to the host and the band's discretion as to whether they want to continue on.
Okay. All right. Anything else we should remind folks about right now?
I think that's about it.
Did we get it all?
Look forward
Yeah.
to seeing everyone on the 25th.
So
of
this will
June.
be the 6th annual, is that right then? Well, there wasn't one in 2020, so kind of the
Yeah.
5th minus.
Seventh.
Yeah, that would be the
16,
7th.
17, 18, 19. Well, no 20.
Right.
21. So it's the 6th. It would be the 7th.
It would be the 7th.
Okay. 6 plus 1.
Yeah. Or yeah. 7th asterisk.
Asterisk,
Yeah.
yeah, pandemic
Yeah,
cancellation. Saturday, June 25th, 3 to 9 p.m. And to view the bands, no registration, no ticketing, like you said, it's just show up
Yep.
at what the schedule
Yeah,
says.
there'll be people walking around with maps. I'll have maps. I'm sure Walt will be walking around with maps too. So you can have it on your phone too, on the website, so you can navigate.
All right.
Yeah.
Great to see you guys.
Great to see you too.
Appreciate it.
Thanks
Have
for
a
having
wonderful
us.
event. Our pleasure, as
Thank you.
always. It's a great tradition. Thank you for watching at home. I'm Joe Catalano for all of us here at Quincy Access Television. Thank you for watching AM Quincy. We'll see you next time.